As a sales professional, building credibility and building rapport are two things that kind of go hand in hand. Oftentimes, we focus more so on building rapport, however. In this episode, we're going to break down how your credibility is going to be critical towards your success in building rapport and actually closing more deals. You're going to love this. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have a great guest. His name is Mark Donnigan, and Mark is the virtual CMO. He's a virtual CMO and also business development executive. He brings a wealth of knowledge with years of experience, not only working in corporate, but also running his own organization and helping teams, and specifically companies that are looking for a virtual CMO. He comes in. Now, Mark was saying it's, obviously rapport building is important, but it's even more so to focus on credibility. So in this episode, we're diving in and breaking down how can we build our credibility and how can this help us with rapport in this day and age. You're going to love this stuff.
Gartner is reporting, and I've seen similar data from Forrester, and I haven't heard anybody that's debunked this, and certainly my own experience proves it to be true, is that buyers are greater than 50% of the way through. Now I'm talking B2B. So we're not talking B2C here. We're talking, a B2B sales motion. Buyers are 50%, more than 50% of the way through their buying process before they reach out to the first vendor.
Yeah.
And you think about what that means, from a selling context and from a selling perspective, it just completely turns kind of the old paradigm on its head, because now my job is not to sort of bait the hook to get that first meeting so that we can somehow reel them into a conversation. No, my job is to state the problem that our solution uniquely addresses and solves in such a way that is differentiated, so that as that buyer is doing their due diligence, as they're talking to their peers, as they're doing their own independent research, they can easily discover what's going to cause them to say, well, of course, this company is going to be on our short list. When it comes time to actually do a POC or begin to reach out to a few vendors, set up meetings, invite them in so that we can learn more about the solution. And so this now means that the job of marketing is, frankly, I think much more exciting and fun, but it's very, very, very different than the old campaign-based, where we had a little sprinkle of brand, a little sprinkle of paid, a little sprinkle of comms and PR, a little sprinkle of events, and we call it a day and sort of hope for the best. And let's face it, that was marketing 15 years ago. And companies who are still executing, even though no one will admit they're doing that, the companies who are still executing that paradigm are struggling. And unfortunately, it's my observation that it's usually those marketing leaders who are churning. We all hear the stat, right? Every 18, 24 months, the CMO chair is churning. It's usually because they're executing an old playbook.
How does credibility play into this rapport building? For me as a B2B sales rep now, and understanding what my marketing is going through, how can credibility impact my rapport building side?
There's one thing that even in the most rigid of environments, meaning where marketing really locks down what a seller can do. There's one thing that a seller can do even in the most rigid, and that is add continuous value to their network with social channels, starting with LinkedIn. And this is where credibility is built. And this is what it looks like. In today's world, it's nobody wants to be sold to. And this is just true. You look at even like the consumer sales process. The old days of like walking into a store, even to buy a car these days. I don't know. I'm sure there's still the high pressure sales tactics. But the last few cars I bought, I've been just frankly astounded at how easy it was and how it was just a normal process. I went in, I had someone very helpful, answered my questions. They guided me. Of course, they're going to ask for the sale, but there was not any of the tricks and the, take your keys and not let you leave, I mean, like I experienced, we all experienced at some point probably. And so when you think about what the buyer expects today, the buyer is looking for someone to help them. And so you as a seller have a tremendous opportunity to add value to your network. So let's get practical. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, more recently, say in the last year, I have definitely tilted a lot heavier towards marketing, business updates, things that I publish, things that I, articles that I feature. So you will definitely see a lot of B2B marketing. You'll see commentary from me about the state of marketing, about the buyer's journey, about what I think about ABM, so you will see a lot of that. But if you go back like 2 years ago, even say 3 years ago, you will be shocked at how I basically didn't put anything up on LinkedIn about marketing or sales or business.
What were you doing then at that point?
All industry, all relating to the market that I was in, all ecosystem. And you might say, but Mark, you're a marketer. With all due respect, and I'm in a very technical, I focus on video technology. That's the space that I primarily work in. I work with companies that are, for example, supplying technologies to Netflix or to Comcast or to Disney or, so a lot of the companies I represent, when you're watching those type of services, you're seeing you're seeing the companies I work with, you're seeing their solutions, even though, it's very deep tech and it's, it's not something you can, quote unquote, put your finger on. But you would say, okay, I don't quite understand. You're a marketer. You're talking about technical aspects of your product, but you're not an engineer. So how deep can you really go? And how much do engineers really, why would they listen to you? I mean, they know you're not an engineer. They can look at your profile, so what's the point here? And I'm asking this question from the perspective of a seller who's probably thinking the same thing. Like, look, I've got a 15-year history as a salesperson. My degree's in business, and I'm selling in a technical industry or even if it's not a real technical industry, people know I'm not a domain expert. So how can I do this? Here's the thing. Everybody is drawn to somebody who you can put in air quotes is smart, but that's too generic. Yeah. Everybody's drawn to somebody who can make smart observations about a problem or a solution that they have a need for. Wow. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Doesn't really matter. Now, you can take that too far. We've all been around people who try and, let's say, fake it a little too much, Yeah. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, kind of fake, just throwing out buzzwords. But what I'm talking about is becoming a student of your ecosystem. Now, it might be that you say, for me, I'm just not technically wired. And so for me to try and go learn this technical aspect of the solutions we sell, it's just not possible. But what I am wired around is that I can learn the relationships and the power flows in my industry, and I can be putting out smart comments. I can be putting out smart posts. I can be giving observation on LinkedIn that's going to add value to my customer, that's going to show them, wow, this person is somebody. Sure, I'm not going to go to them, to get technical insights on the latest standard or technology that's being discussed. But if there's a merger and acquisition, I'm going to make sure I talk to Mark about that. He might have some insights on it. Okay. And then what is this? This now is the open door in the modern sort of sales landscape to be able to start a conversation. And this didn't require you getting any approval by marketing. You didn't go create your own collateral. You didn't go write your own white paper. You didn't go, create your own data sheet because you don't like the one that marketing did. You're adding value, and then you bring them into the conversation. Somebody reaches out, says, hey, I really appreciate that article. I'm curious, what you think about thus and so, this other thing going on. Hey, let's jump on a call. Oh, wow. I see we're both in San Francisco. Grab coffee, whatever. Let's have lunch. I'd be happy to share my insights. Do I then spam them? And no, of course not, because they would drop. So you have to nurture that, right? But my point is this. My point is that it's actually really easy to quote build a Rolodex today. That's a commodity. So saying, oh, but I know all these people. Yeah, I can get almost anybody either to do that or find someone else who has it. But what you can't build overnight is the community that forms around that network. Now, it might only be 50 people. It might be 100. It might be 1,000. It might be 5,000. It could be 10,000. But it doesn't really matter if it's 50 or if it's 5,000, that form around you. If there's people who generally, when someone says your name, they go, oh yeah. That person's really smart. Oh, I love their LinkedIn posts. That is something that you can trade on, and that is more valuable than than just a roll, the old Rolodex. And you'll never have to interview for a job the larger your network, because others are going to come look for you. Why? Because you're known in the industry, and everybody is beginning to form around you, and companies will want to hire you. You'll never have to interview for a job. And when someone does approach you, they're going to be selling you on why you should come work for them, not interviewing you. And I'll tell you, it's an amazing place to be when you can go into a situation where you're having some employment, conversation, and you realize, and not in an arrogant way, not in a, hey, you're lucky to have me, but just in a way of like, hey, look, I love what I'm doing now. Maybe I can bring that to you, but we're going to have to talk about this. It changes the dynamics completely.
Listen, if folks want to get in touch with you, Mark, and to learn a little bit more about what you do, what's the best place for them to go about doing so?
Yeah, my website, growthstage.marketing. That's just growth stage, all one word. It's a .marketing domain. A lot of people don't know that that's available, but it is. So yeah, growthstage.marketing. I've got some free resources. There's no gated content up there. So, feel free to poke around, and I hope you find something of interest and value.
Listen, that was Mark, and if you haven't connected with him already, please go ahead and find his information in the show notes. You can go ahead and just scroll down. You can find a link there. Connect with him on LinkedIn, and also check out his company. Check out some of the cool things that he has to offer. When it's all said and done, my goal in doing this podcast, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to be able to I want you to not find that, succeeding in sales is confusing. We don't want confusing. Complexity is okay. We can navigate you through the complexity, but we don't need you to be confused. We're going to simplify it and make it so much more effective for you so that you can thrive and succeed in your role. As always, I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to close more deals, but most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking and go out and do big things. Thanks so much for listening.